I say that, and I'll give two examples of why that is. This morning, I was being interviewed by CNN on a phone interview, and I was listening to the people who were being interviewed just prior to me. They were speaking to a person who was at the Walmart in Chico, and they'd asked her if she was aware of the list of unaccounted individuals. She indicated that she was aware of it, but didn't want to look at it, presumably for fear that she would see the names of other individuals. I understand it can be traumatic. I can understand that they don't want it, but if you don't want to look at it for yourself to find your name, perhaps you could enlist the aid of a friend. I hope people will do their best to help us check those lists and call in and let us know that they are safe, so that we can begin to get them off the list and devote resources to other areas. Another example just occurred moments before we walked into this press briefing. Two individuals came to the fairgrounds, made contact with one of the firefighting staff members who were here, advised that she and her husband had been in Red Bluff. They were safe, but they knew that their names were on the list. They had heard me talk about this on the news last night, and instead of calling in, they came here. I'm fine with that because we've got them. But what was interesting is that the female noted that her name appeared on there twice. Her first name was misspelled. So by her coming in, her and her husband coming in, we're now able to, next time we report, we'll account for them. They're not accounted for tonight because I didn't have an opportunity to update the list. But we'll be able to eliminate 3 names or show that 3 of those names have been accounted for. So please, folks, help us out by checking that list or having someone check the list. And if your name is on it and you're safe, contact us. As I told you last night, we would be moving our operation of collecting DNA from family members from the sheriff's lobby in Oroville to the Family Assistance Center. Again, that is located at the old Sears building here in Chico. The address is 1982 East 20th Street in Chico. If you believe that one of your loved ones is missing and perhaps deceased and would like to provide a DNA sample, we would encourage you to do that under circumstances. Please go down there, ask to speak to the Andy Rapid DNA staff members, and please provide us with a sample. As I spoke to you last night and the night before when Chief Newman from the Highway Patrol was here, I told you that we would follow up on the information that there were remains found in a vehicle that had ultimately been towed. The question that I had was whether or not those remains had been counted in our previous updates, and the answer to that question is yes. In addition to that, there was a previous question from a lady expressing concern about cremains at the Chapel of the Pines up in Paradise, and whether or not there was a plan to recover those cremains before the rains came in. I'm happy to report that Sergeant Alves from the Paradise Police Department has been working diligently with the owner of that property. He was granted access, was able to get up and recover some of the cremains that were there, and I've been assured that the remainder of the cremains that are on site will be recovered tomorrow, so we'll be able to take care of that as well. Now, to the most difficult part of my briefing, I will tell you about the number of human remains that were located during today's operational period. Since last night, an additional 5 remains were recovered, bringing the total up to 76 human remains. 4 of those human remains were found in Paradise, all 4 found inside structures. 1 human remain was found in Concow, and it was found outside of a structure. Of those 76 individuals, we have tentatively identified 63 people. Those identifications are waiting confirmation by DNA, and now that we are up and running in that process, I'm hoping that we'll be able to report out on identifications in the near future. In the past, I believe, we have previously reported that 6 people were identified, and I provided the names of 5 of those individuals. I told you that we were waiting on next of kin notification before identifying the 6th person. We have been able to identify and notify the next of kin in that case, and so unfortunately I have to report tonight that Lolene Rios, age 56, of Paradise, has been identified as one of the decedents. I want to tell you a little bit about our plans to update you going forward. I understand that we may not be holding a press briefing like this tomorrow night. You'll get more information about that going forward. But what we plan to do is continue to update you either through press releases or information sheets. And then we will decide on having press briefings in the coming weeks. We'll schedule those, we'll notice you of those, and we may move those press briefings to the Oroville area, where we have established a incident command post dedicated solely to the search and recovery of remains, that part of the operation. Of course, if there is a significant development, we may call a press briefing so that we can update you in person and allow you to answer questions. And at that point, this is the end of my briefing. Thank you all very, very much.
Good evening. My name is Mark Brown. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief for the Marin County Fire Department. I serve as the Deputy Incident Commander for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 4. As the Sheriff mentioned, we won't be holding nightly press briefings here at the Fire Incident Command Post, but I want everyone to know that that does not mean we're leaving. Between CAL FIRE, Butte County Fire, all the local fire agencies in Butte County, all the mutual aid companies that we have from throughout the state of California and states throughout the western portion of our nation, we have 5,600 firefighters that are here serving as this community's fire department. It doesn't matter what patch is on our arm. We are this community's fire department right now, and it is our honor to serve in that capacity, and we will continue to be here until this community no longer needs us here. Thank you.
So before we open it up for questions, I just have a few things, so everybody understands. Number one, we are completely humbled by the support that this community has given us. And one of the questions that I continuously hear in the community is, what can we do to help the firefighters? And so from an official source, our wish is that you focus on the survivors. We are fully contained here at the incident base. If you have driven by or come by, you've seen that we literally have everything that we need, from showers to food to supply unit. All of our needs are met. And if the community continue to show that spirit and support those survivors, that's what we really need, and we appreciate your support that you've given to us. As has been alluded prior to me coming back up here, this will serve as the last regularly scheduled press conference. As the need arises, we could hold another press conference, and if we do that, we will notice everybody. We are working on a process to daily release any new numbers that come out, and as we define that process, I will make that available to you. It will come out on a press release. In the meantime, I can't stress enough that like Chief Brown said, we are not going away. We're going to continue to provide information to this community through our visits to the evacuation shelters. We have boards all throughout the community that you can go to that are updated daily and get information. And you can also sign up on this tinyurl.com/2018 campfire. Anytime we send out any information on the fire, it will send you an email if you sign up for it, and that will not stop. I cannot stress enough that just because this press conference is stopping tonight, it does not mean that we're picking up and going away. Far from that. At this point, I'd like to open it up for questions. We'll do the same format we've done the last few nights. I'll define the discipline, see if we have any questions. We'll bring them up for all the questions that you have for that discipline, and then at that point we'll bring up the next discipline. So why don't we start with fire operations. Any questions for fire operations?
Could you talk to us about what Tuesday is going to look like with the expectation of rain?
Sure. So the question is, what we feel that Tuesday or Wednesday is going to look like with the rains that are predicted to come.
Yes, obviously, weather will assist us in the suppression of the fire. Our greatest concern going forward is the winds they're predicted in the red flag warning for tonight. Once we get into Monday and Tuesday and get in a stable pattern, over the last 5 days, we've made great progress when we didn't have the wind. So we anticipate being able to make progress, and the rain would certainly help with the fire suppression aspect. I can't speak to the evacuations. There is a process that has to go through. Obviously, as we are able to add more containment lines and ensure that there's no threat of the fire spreading, then we can start that process and advise, and the sheriff will make the decision to finally open up any new evacuation orders. Thank you.
Any more questions for fire operations? Any questions for our meteorologist? Seeing none. Any questions for air resources, air quality? Seeing none. Any questions for the CHP? Seeing none. Any questions for Sheriff Honey?
Can we get a clarification of the name and age of the woman who was identified from Paradise?
Clarification?
Or rather, have you tell us the spelling?
No, I can do that for you, yes. And we will put it out in the media release as well, but yeah, first name spelled Lolene. Last name spelled Rios. 56 out of Paradise.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Sheriff, could you update us on the situation happening at the Walmart in Chico, and specifically some of the reasons that led up to asking the folks staying there to move to the Butte County Fairgrounds?
No, unfortunately, I can't, because that's not a situation that I've been keeping close track of. Because that is within the city's jurisdiction, the city police department has been responding to any issues there and dealing with that. But I can generally say that there is an ongoing desire to get as many people into recognized or supported shelters, not only from the standpoint of the ability to provide for their basic needs, but also to ensure that they're being cared for and accounted for.
Was it helpful at all to have a visit from the president today?
Was it helpful at all?
How did it go?
I think it went well. I'd add that we were also visited by Governor Brown and Governor-elect Newsom. What I think, I find that to be positive. I think it's a good thing that federal and state authorities came to Butte County to examine and look at the devastation here. I think it's important that they understand the tremendous impact this had on our community. And my hope is that by coming here together, it signals a spirit of cooperation going forward that will ultimately benefit this community and help us get back onto the path, or get onto the path of recovery and ultimately rebuild. Yes, sir.
Can you identify the deceased in Concal?
That I reported tonight?
Yes.
Not tonight, I cannot.
Did you know that? And is that the only deceased in the Concal region so far?
No, I believe there have been others.
Okay, do you have a number on that?
Not right now, I don't, but we have been putting out press releases, and if you follow that, it lists that information. Okay? Yep, you bet, thank you. Yes, sir.
I believe that you said that the total number of missing people is 1,276 up 265 today.
That is
What's happening there?
So,
And
for
what's
the,
the concern in the first place?
say again?
And what's the concern about staying, you know?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I'm going to try to summarize it in case others didn't hear it. But ultimately, the question is about those who remained, who did not evacuate when the evacuation order was given, and kind of what's going on with them. Is that a fair?
Right.
Fair,
Totally
okay.
fair, yeah.
Well, there were certainly people who remained and chose not to evacuate. We understand that that happens every time. And that happens because oftentimes people believe, one, that maybe the order wasn't necessary, or two, that they're going to be able to deal with whatever comes their way. And certainly in some cases, they're able to do that. But in other cases, they're not. And we have situations where it gets them into trouble. That said, it is not our practice to go about arresting people who refuse to evacuate when the evacuation is being conducted, because that would take away important resources towards the evacuation effort. As they stay, though, it becomes a problematic situation that we try to work with. We try to be understanding of the fact that people don't want to leave their homes. But if they're out and about, it causes us to believe, or causes us to have to check as to whether or not they should be there in the first place, and whether or not they're looting. In addition to that, the longer the evacuation goes on, the fact that they may be running out of resources like water and food and things like that becomes problematic. As a general rule, what we would encourage people to do is to evacuate to a place where they have what they need to survive, understanding that this is still a dynamic situation and we may have to get back in there with emergency personnel to deal with the situation. But I understand why people do what they do, and we try hard to, again, balance the competing interests and deal with the situations that they come up. Our sincere hope is that we're going to be very successful in getting these areas cleared for repopulation, so that none of this is a concern going forward. Yes, sir.
Sure, can I ask, can you provide us with an update on the norovirus outbreak, which shelters are affected, how many people?
No, sir, that is not my, that's not my wheelhouse. I don't do that. But I suspect that you could probably get that information from the Department of Employment and Social Services, or the Butte Office of Emergency, the EOC. So sorry, that's just not on my radar. Okay. And I think the last thing that I will just say, because I do want to be responsive to you guys and get the information out. So just because we're not going to have a scheduled press briefing, as I said earlier, we will be releasing information through press releases. But many of you have had an opportunity to contact my community relations folks and set up interviews. I still will remain available to conduct interviews as much as possible. But please understand that there are things that go on during the course of the day that require my attention. So if I'm not able to accommodate an interview request, I ask for your indulgence. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions for our Incident Commander, Mark Brown?
I just want to clarify, we got word that there would be a press conference here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Is that correct?
No, we do not do press conferences in the mornings.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we know yet if the fire started on federal or private lands?
So the question is, do we know yet whether the fire started on federal or private lands?
That's correct.
So part of the fire investigation is cause and origin, and origin would be where the fire was caused, and since that's part of the investigation and is still under investigation, we can't answer that question.
Any other questions for the Incident Commander? Any questions for any of our cooperators? And I didn't see, I looked around the room, I looked for Butte County. There wasn't a representative in the room for Butte County, so we'll have to go direct with them. Any other questions for our cooperators? Seeing none. So again, this concludes our regularly scheduled press conferences. Stay tuned, tune into the tiny URL, and we'll continue to push information out on all the social media platforms. Thank you very much.
You and I have been before. It's been a very long time. Yeah. I'm from Sacramento. Yeah. There.